Welcome to Creekside Chat, brought to you by Diamond Creek Farm. Pull back the barn doors as we delve into the inner workings of a breeding farm, talking about anything and everything that comes up on the farm. Follow along with us monthly as we continue to strive to be the cut above. Welcome to Creekside Chat. I'm Adam Bowden, owner of Diamond Creek Farm. When I started this endeavor 15 years ago, I really had no idea what I was doing. I think being 24 at the time, I thought I knew way more than I did. But I needed to reach out and talk to industry experts like Bob Bonney, John Cashman, and Rajat Jablonski, who kind of taught me what I needed to know. That, along with all the other questions and answers I had, allowed me to get to where I am today. So here I sit, now the expert, or so-called expert, and here ready to answer your questions as we delve into the inner workings of a breeding farm. Today I'm joined by my friend, Bloodstock Manager and Vice President, Sean Longoni. Welcome.
Hey, happy to be here and back on Creekside Chat with you. It's really nice that we've been able to revamp this and give this another go because we really devoted the time to it during COVID and we got a lot of great feedback. So super excited to be on here today and to get kind of the behind the scenes look of the farm out to the public.
Absolutely. Let's get started.
Sounds good. So today, we've got a really exciting show lined up. We'd like to go over our Stallion roster for 2023, including an exciting new addition, and then those fees, those stud fees for 2023. And then really just some Q&A on questions we commonly get from those breeders about mating, mares to specific stallions, and also how do we come up with these stud fees.
So let's just jump right into this.
Here we go.
So Pebble Beach. Pebble Beach bounds away to a 6-length lead in deep stretch, and Pebble Beach has destroyed this field.
So news broke last week and trickled through the sale that we're going to stay on Pebble Beach. In Kentucky.
Really excited to have this first son of Down by the Seaside to stud, who was a brilliant 2-year-old and backed it up in his 3-year-old year, winning the North America Cup and then recently the Breeders' Crown. By the time this films, he may have done well in the matron and he may go on to the Progress, but he will retire at the end of this racing season and he will stand in Kentucky, which is kind of a new thing.
Yeah, I mean, we started it with Jim Pansy, which has been just a huge boon, and he's been a horse that we've been after 2 years now. I mean, we asked the owners, we inquired, it's been this constant back and forth between them and us, and finally got it across the finish line here last week.
Yeah, so that being said, we're excited to offer him at a $7,500 stud fee in Kentucky. In Kentucky, we have this Stallion bonus program. Tell the people.
Yeah, it's wonderful. If your mare resides in the state for 180 days in the year she's bred, your stallion stands in the state, that resulting foal is eligible to race for 50% more money, and already the greatest program in the country. The finals are $400,000. These foals are going to race for $600,000. It's better than that.
It's incredible. So also, we'll be shipping semen for Pebble Beach, and you could breed to him without your mare being in Kentucky. And what would that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, hopefully same day, FedEx, whatever, however we can get it to you, we're going to do our best to get it there. And those foals will be Kentucky eligible as well. They just wouldn't be eligible to the bonus unless the mare resides in the state.
So you can be better or better. It's a great situation.
It's great.
So we're excited about it.
Like you said, $7,500 stud fee. Share prices at $30,000. There aren't that many available. So, gather them up quickly.
Yeah, what other parts about Pebble Beach do you see that differentiate him from some of the other studs that have come into the Stallion barns recently?
I think for one, he's Down by the Seaside, who outside of Captain Treacherous is the best stallion in the sport. I mean, he's shown that he's not only just an Ohio stallion, but he's a national stallion. By the Missile, Pebble Beach, Sea Silk, Gulf Shores. I mean, go down the list. The 2-year-olds, Charleston, McSeaside. It's trickled into the second crop, and then you're seeing them pay money for the third crop.
Yeah, up to $420,000 in Lexington for a Down by the Seaside filly. So this horse is gorgeous. I mean, he's likely to throw beautiful babies. He's substantial and had extreme 2-year-old speed. I mean, what did you notice about him at 2 at the Red Mile?
I mean, how many horses can pace in 48 as a 2-year-old and do it multiple times? I mean, he cut the mile, unfortunately, when Caviar Camden set the world record. But then he came right back next week and went 48-4.
Incredible. What a job Noel Daly did with this horse, and then to bring him back at 3 and, you know, finish or begin the season strong and then end up finishing the season strong. I mean, this horse might put a ton of speed into his babies.
Absolutely. I mean, he dominated the North America Cup in June. Wheels back, comes back at Mohawk, and then dominates the field in the Breeders' Crown and sets his lifetime mark at 48-1. So speed from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, and then the Brittany family aspect that he hails from. Talk about that.
I mean, Brittany is the pinnacle of what I think all breeders are shooting for, right? I mean, they sell expensive yearlings, they race great horses. I mean, it is what we aim to do.
Yeah, so he checks all the boxes for us, and we hope he does for the breeders as well. We think, no doubt, he will, and we can't wait to get him in foal and see the first crop.
I mean, as soon as we start collecting applications, this guy's going to be full, so hurry up.
Get him in.
And Chimpanzee imposing his will. Chimpanzee has fled the scene.
And let's start out with our flagship trotting stallion, Chimpanzee.
Yeah, he's going to remain at 20,000 again. And he's the horse that built the barn, our new stallion barn in Kentucky. You know, coming off a year in which he bred 69 mares, you know, we changed a few things around, made some updates to how we process the semen and how we manage the mares, and it allowed us to breed 101 and with 88 pregnancies. So, you know, we're going to try a few more changes this year and hopefully increase the book. And, you know, we're looking forward to selling the first group of yearlings next year.
More than $18 million in progeny earnings? How's that for a strong father figure?
Then there's Father Patrick, who also remains unchanged, representing a great value at 10,000 still, coming off really one of his better crops to race at 2, and then now what appears to be his best group of yearlings that have just sold.
Yeah, he finally had the bounce back year that we were all hoping for. I mean, after this first crop, it was kind of hard to beat Green Show, right? I mean, out of a small crop, he did it, and he was excellent. And now we're seeing the results of Green Show coming back through with the top quality mares bred.
It's Captain Crunch!
Then we have Captain Crunch, who just sold his first crop in Lexington and Harrisburg this year, and they averaged 9 times stud fee. I mean, it seems almost outrageous, but we're going to leave his fee alone at $7,500, and he might present the best value in the entire sport.
Yeah, I'm really happy we can provide that value to the breeders who have already made money breeding to Captain Crunch in his first crop and then have sold well.
Yeah, I mean, I expect another full book this year as well.
That would be the 4th one in a row.
Make a smart bet with Better's Wish.
Better's Wish, who is still yet to sell his full crop, which he'll sell those yearlings next year. But this year we got a little preview crop. When he was training, he bred a number of mares, and we got that smaller crop to look at this year. And there were some big highlights, like Chris Ryder, who trained and manages the syndicate, bred and syndicated one of his colts that we got to sell, Belmar, hit 350 in Harrisburg for $160,000 on a $10,000 stud fee, which we are now going to keep the same.
Always be tough.
It's a perfect Breeders' Crown.
Always be fast.
Nicky Hill draws away by 5.
Always be Mickey.
Our first change is always be Mickey, who's going to drop down to 12,500 this year. I mean, even on the back of 2 Breeders' Crown wins this year and 6 total for the first 3 crops, I mean, he provides excellent value as well.
No question, and that slight adjustment is just to allow the breeder a little bit more meat on the bone when they go to sell their yearlings.
Absolutely.
He holds multiple world records and earned nearly $3.5 million. Now, he's a leading 3-year-old sire. Sounds pretty sweet to me.
Then we've got Sweet Lou going up just slightly from 12,500 to 15,000, and boy, has he done that the hard way.
I mean, we started him at 7,500, and like you said, he did it the hard way. He proved it on the racetrack and in the sales ring. You know, the recent bump to 12,500, you know, we needed to see him produce the top-end horses, and going 1-2 in the Breeders' Crown for 2-year-olds was the icing on the cake.
Top of the stretch, it's Marseille now by 3.
Marseille will stand for $2,000, which he'll sell his first yearlings next year, which we think people are going to like based on what people say about the foals.
Yeah, they're flashy. He's flashy, got the big white blaze, and he's a dark horse. And like you said, the reports are that the foals are fairly sharp.
Pedigree, heart, speed, creatine.
Who really burst on the stallion scene with Juju B. But talk about kind of what we're going to do with his fee and why for 2023.
Yeah, he's going to get a little drop to $3,000. You know, we re-syndicated him last year off the success of Juju B, and hope to ride that wave. And a little hiccup with Juju B's soundness this year, and he returned at the end of the season and showed flashes.
Everything is better down by the seaside.
And then finally, we're left with our kingpin down by the seaside, who's moving up again to $17,500. I mean, again, on the back of an excellent season. I mean, he has the 2 best 3-year-olds in the country with By the Missile.
And was first or second in every 3-year-old major colt stakes event
That he was eligible to. I mean,
yeah.
The Corral rule prevented him from being at the Meadowlands, but outside of that, I mean, it was down by the seaside or down by the seaside.
What a dream horse. This horse still represents a great value at $17,500.
I mean, he's selling 6-figure yearlings all over the place, whether it's in Ohio, Lexington, or Harrisburg.
And it looks to be just the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, the crops are only getting better from here. The mares are getting better. The breeders are rewarded at the sales. The people buying the yearlings are rewarded on the racetrack. I mean, everybody's making money.
And this will be our stud that's essentially booked full and close by Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think probably now.
Put Adam on the hot seat here and ask some really piercing questions to make him uncomfortable. I kid, but Adam, everybody probably wonders, we're making a big deal out of announcing these stud fees. How do we set these stud fees? How do we make these decisions?
I mean, I think it starts in the summer, right? As these horses start racing or their first crops are developing. It's a process that involves multiple people. I mean, it's you and I. It's our admin staff. It's the owners of the stallions. I mean, we pull a bunch of people. We pull the breeders as well. I mean, the feedback we take in-house, some of it we discard, and it's just like, I don't really care about your opinion. But, at the end of the day, it's always trying to provide value to the breeders.
So you're not sitting in a room late at night doing some special code or math to determine this?
I probably am. Nobody else is. But yeah, no, at the end of the day, it's really about the breeders.
Yeah.
And providing value for them.
Some of the questions that we often get it's really basically, how do you pick a stallion for a mare?
Yeah, so what's our process, right? It starts with the mare. You and I and the team, we go around, we look at our mares. We score them, we grade them, we find their flaws. What are we trying to improve? What are we trying to maximize? And then I think you have to get in front of the stallions as well. You have to know their conformation, you have to know their flaws. And just recently we started inspecting all of the yearlings, or as many as we can possibly get in front of, to find those flaws, to figure out what breeds out, what breeds in. So like I said, it starts with the mare, moves to the stallion, and you try to match them up physically, right? And then from there, it's how many do you have, how many do you want, and sometimes we're limited. Some of the top stallions you just don't have access to, which is why buying shares is important from the beginning.
Another question we often get is, what about breeding to the same stallion multiple times or multiple consecutive years?
I think you see it at the sales. Farms or individuals have bred back multiple years. It's good or bad, just depending on what you get. And a lot of times we like to see them on the ground. And if we like them, sometimes we switch breedings and go back again, or we'll breed back the 3rd year. But rarely do we breed multiple years in a row. It's just personal preference, really.
So, as far as the theme of this show is an insider's look, things that people may have not been exposed to, and I would imagine there's very few people in our industry that are exposed to what I like to refer to as chasing a stallion, which is the process that we engage in to add stallions to the roster. Tell us about what that looks like on a year-long basis.
I mean, at first it's identifying which horses really we have an opportunity to go after based on the ownership group. And then it's getting in front of them. And I think as I've done this over the years, I've learned that, you got to get in front of people. I could send an offer in, it could be twice what somebody else is willing to pay, but like you've taught me over the last couple of years, it's all about relationships and making sure you're in front of them and you're constant with them and you're talking with them, even if it isn't about your horse.
Yeah, would you ever consider it to be kind of like being a baseball scout, chasing a key player, or trying to sign a professional athlete?
I mean, you're recognizing talent and you're trying to do it earlier than everybody else. I mean, that was the thing when I first got started, is I had to develop a niche. Like, I can't compete with Hanover for the number of mares, or I can't compete with the next guy for dollars. But all I did at the beginning was I went after horses early. I tried to buy into them after their 2-year-old year, because that was my edge.
Yeah, and that had to be risky, right? I'm sure there's some that haven't worked out.
Yeah, I mean, you had to pay a lot, right? And we took a big risk. Southwind Frank. We paid a ton of money for him after his 2-year-old year. He was worth it at the time. Come to find out, fertility limited his ability to, maximize income. Paid a lot for Father Patrick. He's paid us back. Same thing with the pacing horses. Sweet Lou, Always Be Mickey, Down by the Seaside, Captain Crunch. I mean, we went after these horses early. We got in people's faces. We offered them money. And then now it's nice because we have the track record, right? We have this ability to take a horse, provide value to the breeders, then they race. So far, success, and then you can move stud fee up and everybody makes money along the way.
What about the stallions that you were not successful in acquiring? Like for instance, walk us through like the Bulldog Hanover phenomenon this year and what it was like to try to add him to the roster.
Yeah, so, July comes along and he's just starting his brilliance. We reached out to the ownership group. We had a deal, a handshake deal, to get this thing over the finish line. We bought 25% of the horse, 2 days before he set the world record at the Meadowlands, which was great. We bought into the horse, we followed his ride, and he's going to end up standing in Canada at Sealster Farms, which, he probably does need to be in Canada. But we're not going to be the syndicate manager. And that's just part of the game. We take chances, we take risks. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. But at the end of the day, they can't take anything away from what the horse did this year.
And then in contrast, talk about the ease of the Pebble Beach deal.
Yeah, technically it started last year. We approached James Kaler Country Club just because of our relationship with Seaside. But, it's a big ownership group and it was just too complicated to get done last summer. Breeders' Crown comes, we got the little winner circle room talking to James and Joe Sabraco and said, what about this horse in Kentucky? 3 days later, we're on a conference call and this thing's wrapped up and, here we are, $7,500 stud, Kentucky, brand new, love it.
Yeah, it seems like every stud's a different story.
Yeah, I ended up following Bob, Bonnie, and Mitchell Skolnick around for an entire year to get Always Be Mickey done. I courted Mark Weaver. Yeah, well, I've been called worse. But the same thing with Mark Weaver and Sweet Lou. It was it was like a month-long process to get that done. So each one is different. But at the end of the day, we go after these horses, the ones we believe in, and so far we've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's great to hear you share about these experiences, and some of which even happened before I was even working here, and just like what the chase is all about. Because I guess I always say it's really an everyday chase all year long, and you don't necessarily know which ones you're going to end up with.
You and I, we've already had conversations about next year's group. So, it is a years-long process, and, we got a list on the board at home, and, we constantly are crossing it off and adding horses to it. So, it'll be interesting to see what's next.
You seem to be really comfortable with failure. Why don't you talk about that?
I don't know if I'm comfortable with it. Actually, I'm the worst loser that there possibly is in the world. As you've seen. But no, who hates to lose? But nobody hates to lose more than I do. But no, it's part of the process, right? We don't do this and expect to win every single time. We have racehorses that make breaks in the home stretch of the Breeders' Crown. We have 2-year-olds that are 1 to 5 that get third over trips in the Breeders' Ground Final and come up a half a length short. I mean, this kind of stuff happens. But, you know, we sell thoroughbreds for $800,000 and, you know, we have access to the world's best stallions. And, I mean, look at the farm. It's beautiful. And we have 12 stallions in 3 states. I mean, there's not much better than that.
So this has been a can't miss episode, and the next one might even be better. So we're excited to continue this on, and please reach out with any feedback or questions you'd like us to address. And we'll plan to do this as long as people want to see it.
Yeah, I mean, send the questions in. We love answering, and I think we'll end every podcast here with a question and answer.